Hello again. Hello. It's been a minute since I've put out a video. Mainly that's because we've got some big things going on here at the Healing Center in Ecuador. I'll be putting out some more videos about some of that too. But for today's session, we're going to be talking about how to fade. So, if you are still you're trying to figure out what's the best way to get your freedom, kind of sneak out the back corner, I'm going to give you some tips today of what's the best way to do that. So, we're going to dig right in and get started. Tip number 1, don't say anything to anybody. So, we're trained preachers, right? We talk to what we believe about to everybody. And I think probably when we wake up, one of the first things we want to do is we want to share what we've learned with everybody. We want to help everybody get out. We want to talk to them about all of our newfound knowledge and all of our revelations about how we're in a false religion. So tip number 1 is don't do that. You probably are not, most people, when they start going through the waking up process, when they realize that they belong to a cult, the first thing we want to do is share that information. But normally we're kind of in a state of confusion ourselves. We've been confronted with all of this information. We're trying to process it. And the natural tendency when we're processing, I think, is to kind of process it verbally and get it out and to share it with people that we love, especially if they're still in the religion. And my best advice is don't do that. Don't do that yet. Your mental sanity, you getting free, restructuring your life, that is the priority. I plan on doing a video in the future about how to help family members wake up. But when you're in the religion and you're working on fading, this is not the time yet to worry about waking our family up. There's time for that later. The first thing that you need to focus on is your own self-stability, your own security, recreating your own life. Tip number 1, don't say anything. I know that's hard, especially if maybe you're married and your mate is still in the religion, or if you're, for whatever reason, living with family members that are still in the religion. It's hard to be quiet, I know. But in order to fade successfully, which in my opinion is probably the best way to do it, I could talk about that a little bit later, but fading is probably the best way to do it. I don't believe that going ahead and playing their mind games of having a judicial committee and getting disfellowshipped, I mean, unless you've already been forced kind of into that situation, I don't think that we play by their games anymore. I'm all for fading because this is our life. We're the ones that are living our life. And once you've decided that you don't belong to the religion, that also means that their rules don't apply to us either, mainly disfellowshipping. Some people will ask about what about maybe writing a letter of disassociation. I would also wait. Again, that's kind of playing by their rules, in my opinion. They're going to count you on the roster. They're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. If at some point down the future you feel that it is for your psychological well-being to write a letter of disassociation, maybe that's appropriate in your circumstances. But as far as the fading goes, I would do the fading first before you worry about any sort of letters of disassociation or anything like that. And then later on, once you've really stabilized yourself, you've created a life, if you still decide that it even matters, because quite honestly, once you've recreated your life, their silly little rules don't touch you anywhere near as much as they might right now, if you're still physically in and trying to figure out how to extricate yourself from the Jehovah's Witnesses religion. Okay, so tip number 1, don't say anything. So as you're going through, here's step number 2. Tip number 2 is start recreating your social circle ASAP. You're going to need the support system because many times Jehovah's Witnesses treat us as disfellowshipped when we're just inactive. Maybe they know that you've got some secret doubts. Maybe you've already vocalized some doubts. So the shunning happens super, super, super fast. It could happen in a drop of a hat. Get that social circle, get your support system going right away. Who should you turn to for your support circle? The first people that I would suggest that you turn to is probably family members that are not JWs. The reason is because they probably understand a whole lot more about the insanity of the religion than we've ever given them credit for. Being part of the religion, we cut them off because they were worldly. Most of them probably didn't understand. Most of the family members that are non-JWs are probably also think that's crazy. So in my experience, here's some phrasing that you can even use with the non-JW family. Go to them and quite simply say, guess what, guys? I've left the religion because it's crazy. And now all my family is going to shun me, and I need family. And from experience, I know that very often those family members are going to be your biggest support system. Really quickly, usually those family members are like, oh yeah, you know what? Let me tell you about your crazy family. Let me tell you about how that religion broke us up. Let me tell you about how, my brother joined the religion and nothing has been the same since. Typically, non-JW family are going to probably be pretty supportive, especially if you ask for help. If you flat out just say, you know what, I made a mistake. I had no idea. I didn't realize that I was in a cult, and now I have nobody, and I'm having to rebuild my life from scratch. Like I said, those family ties will most likely be open to at least helping you out. I know myself personally, when so I came from 5 generations. I was in the religion for almost 38 years. And when I left, all of my immediate family, dad, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, everybody, they were all hardcore JW. So I lost everybody. When my grandfather passed away, I sillily asked some JW family members if, oh, you know what, maybe, does anybody have a picture of my grandfather? And pretty much they were like, you're from the devil, we hate you, I got the typical JW response. So I reached out to 2 people that I had met once in my life, probably when I was 10. So here I am, 38. I meet these people when I was 10. They were second cousins of my dad, or I think their grandmother was my grandfather's sister, some very distant relationship, but they were non-Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I reached out to them. I was like, actually, you probably don't remember me. I met you when I was 10, but I'm so-and-so's daughter, and my grandpa just passed away, and my family doesn't talk to me. They were amazing. They were amazing. Right away, they were like, oh, sweetheart, let me tell you what that religion has done to our family. And immediately they sent me pictures, and now they text me and how are you? And, it's a connection with family that I kind of assume. I thought that was kind of going to be a long shot. Kind of, I was surprised a little bit by how willing they were to take me in and say, oh yeah, we know. Come here, sweetheart. So, and as I've advised other people to do the same, hands down, I think everybody has had that same result. So create your social circle. First people to reach out to is probably the non-JW family members, explaining the situation. Who else is going to be your support system? Okay, now we were basically anybody who you were supposed to avoid before. These are your new social circle. Coworkers, parents of the friends of your kids that you go to school with, anybody that you were formerly not supposed to talk to, that needs to be your new social circle. That includes neighbors, everybody. I mean, now we used to have such a tight criteria on who we were allowed to associate with. I mean, even in the congregation, if it's a weak in the truth, if they miss too many meetings or they don't go out in service enough or whatever, they're kind of on the low on the totem pole of whether you should be friends with them or not. We had these huge criterias of who we were allowed to associate with. And we have none of that now, so take advantage of it. Start talking. We're great at talking, right? Start talking to as many people as you can. People that you work with, people that your kids go to school with, people that you go to school with, everyone. And I think as we're creating the social circle too, the way human dynamics work is most of the time they're like, oh, hi, how are you? Oh, hi, how are you? Do you have kids? Do you have family? Blah, 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 blah. And our story's weird. Our past is twisted because it's very difficult for people to, sometimes we don't want to go into that whole story. And even when we do, sometimes it's hard to believe when people are on the outside and you say, nobody talks to me. That's kind of hard to comprehend. So what do you say when people say things like that? Maybe the easiest thing to say is, you know what? It's complicated. But in a nutshell, I was in a highly controlling religion and I left. And everybody I knew belonged to that. And now I have to create a new social circle. People like honesty. People appreciate that when we say that. The religion, remember this too, the religion creates a cloud of shame on us. That belongs to them. We do not need to be under any cloud of shame over what has happened in our past because we were in a cult. So sometimes just flat out sharing that with people helps them understand, why is this lady 40 years old and doesn't have a friend or a family member in the world? Simple answer. Yeah, you know what? It's because I grew up in a cult. And when I realized I was in a cult, I left. And that means that I left my entire social circle. So, if you want a sob story, I can give you the 4-hour version sometime. But, for now, hi, I need a friend. Who are you? Create that social circle because you're going to need that support. And if you start off friendships kind of from that basis that, hey, you know what? I don't have anybody. People like to help. People like taking somebody in under their wing for the most part. I've done a whole other episode on making friends. So if you want more information on that, I've expounded more on that in a different topic. But for now, how to fade. First of all, don't say anything. Number 2, start creating your social circle as quickly as possible. Okay, I've got my notes here. Tip number 3, start creating new structures and new habits for yourself, new routines for yourself. One of the major things, I was kind of surprised about this actually. I hadn't really thought about it much myself until I started comparing the life of somebody out in the world versus what the JW life is like. Humans need rituals. Humans like routines. Humans like annual events. They like celebrations. We do that as people. In the JW world, we had our celebrations, we had conventions, we had memorial, we had special talks. And all of that helps create for a human a sense of structure, a sense of time, a sense of maybe even a little bit more sense of balance. And when we leave, we lose all that. We don't know what we're doing. I remember there was a time when I couldn't even remember what day it was because I used to know my days of the week based on what meeting I was going to. I stopped going to the meetings all day. He was like, I don't know, is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? Is it Thursday? Oh man, it's Friday. How could that happen? Yeah, because we don't have routines anymore. When we leave, then we have the contrast of our new world around us, and they're celebrating birthdays and Christmas and Mother's Day, and they have all of the structure in place. Sometimes it feels weird as you're going through this transition process to be like, yeah, I'm going to celebrate Christmas, or yeah, birthdays, woohoo. It can feel a little strange. And but psychologically speaking, ceremonies, routines, and celebrations are important psychologically. If it feels weird to immediately start embracing things that we've considered pagan our whole life, cut yourself a little bit of slack and create other rituals that feel good for you. What does that mean? Okay, so maybe Sundays, instead of well, obviously we're not going to the meeting. Instead of going to the meeting, maybe your ritual is you go to you go hiking every Sunday for 2 hours. You go hiking. Or every Sunday for 2 hours, you go sit by a pond, and that's your ritual. These rituals are important. It helps ground us. It helps us feel like life is more normal when clearly it's not quite yet. So start creating those rituals for yourself. Start participating in other people's rituals, birthdays, holidays, that kind of thing. Those kind of ceremonies will help us integrate our life. The next tip is discovering yourself. So the next 2 or 3 things will kind of, I'm going to be talking about time. How much time as an active Jehovah's Witness did we spend a week in the religion? Dude, I don't even know. I mean, if you just count the meetings and going back and forth to the meetings, you're looking at what, at least 5 hours, 6 hours? Now, if you're actually preparing for meetings, if you're going out in service, if you're if you're praying before every meal and when you wake up and when you go to sleep, and you've got personal study and you've got family study, we were easily spending 10 hours a week. We're probably more like 20, right? On the safe side. What are you doing with this newfound time? You have an extra 20 hours a week. You have an extra 10 hours a week. What are you doing with it? Tip number, where am I at? Tip number 4, start using some of that time to discover what you love. Who are you? What are you doing? What do you love? Excuse me. We've dedicated so much time to the religion. We didn't dedicate time to hobbies. We didn't dedicate time to, oh, what do you love? What if you're secretly an artist inside and you never knew because we were spending so much time in the religion? Dedicate time to get to know yourself and find out and discover, what are your talents? What do you love? It could be something that you have you never had any idea of before. What is there? Painting, music, take up a musical instrument, socializing, going to parties, going to festivals, events, things that are happening in your community. What about politics? We never got involved in politics at all. Personally, that wasn't really my thing, but you should investigate that, because what if it is your thing and you don't even know? Travel, maybe your thing is learning. In the religion, we did not give any sort of weight whatsoever to any of these things that I've talked about. Hobbies, art, sport, music, politics, all of that. You need to figure out who you are now. And in the process of figuring that out, as you start to participate in things that maybe you've never participated in before, that also helps with the recreating the social circle. Because as you're figuring out what you love, what you're good at, what you would, hidden talents or whatever, you're also going to be meeting people that are also in those categories. So if you were to happen to find out that, lo and behold, you have a musical talent, maybe you start taking music lessons, and now you're associating with other people who also have similar interests. You're kind of building in for yourself all of these things. You're building in a social circle, you're building in structure, a little bit more routine, you're getting to know yourself. That's why we left the religion. We left the religion, yes, because it's a false religion, but we also left the religion for freedom. I think all too often we don't take advantage of the freedom as much as we could. There's lots of different reasons why. We can cover that in other topics. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's anger. There could be all kinds of reasons why we don't integrate really well. But ultimately, if you're going through the pain of separating yourself from a cult, then take advantage of the reason why you're doing it, which is for freedom, so that you can live your life, so that you can recreate or not recreate, you can figure out who you are. You don't need to recreate anything, because We were given a personality. We were given the new personality. So we technically didn't really even create the old us. Now we have to dust off. We have to dust off the real us and dig it out of the closet and find out, who am I? What do I love to do? What do I even, you don't even know what you love to do. So start experimenting. Start testing the waters to see, what's hidden, what gift is hidden inside of you? What gift is going to light up your life and it's going to give you meaning and make all that we've put behind us stupid, senseless, not worth our time. When we can fill our life with meaningful things that are important to us, we're creating the social circle, we're discovering who we are, we're creating new habits, we're creating new routines that mean something to us. That's life. That's why we left, so that we could actually have a life. All right. Number 5. So we've got don't say anything, create a social circle, create new routines and structures for yourself, discover what you love. Number 5, I love number 5. Number 5 is probably my favorite. Number 5 is open your mind to new ideas. Open your mind to question everything. Here's why. We spent however many years you spent, but we spent 38 years in my case believing wholeheartedly in the religion. I believed it with my whole heart. When I found out that was not the right religion, I was like, what the heck? What? Like everything I believed is a lie? What does that teach us then? That if it's possible that everything we believed was a lie, what else are we not recognizing could be a lie? Basically, anything that was forbidden in the religion, we should investigate. If the religion said it was bad, we should probably figure out what they're trying to keep from us. That can include a lot of things. That could include spirituality. We believed wholeheartedly in the religion. That means that we believed wholeheartedly in the Bible. So if we're going to question our religion, maybe we could be open-minded enough to question what we based the religion on. Maybe we should be open enough to other things that were flat out condemned by the religion, like plant medicines or alternative lifestyles. Tattoos are forbidden. I mean, look at all of the things that were forbidden that we should start questioning ourselves on, because if we could have been so misled by the religion itself, what other things can we shake up in our life that may also not be true? And that requires some digging deep. That requires being really aware of questioning ourselves of, what else could we possibly be believing that's wrong? I've done other videos on some of the limiting beliefs that we have. Part of that, I also included the subcategory of we have our religious deprogramming that we do, but then there's also a lifestyle deprogramming that has to be done. What that means is when we realize, 1914's bullshit, governing body, none of that's true. Okay, good. We did the religious deprogramming, but what about the lifestyle deprogramming that is also important? Like what? The type of clothes that we think it's appropriate to wear, our views on money, our views on education, our views on sex. All of those things aren't specifically religious, but they're also things that we should question because they were highly influenced. Everything we think was highly influenced by a false religion. So that means everything we should take under consideration. One of the next topics then is investing in ourselves. So we touched briefly on how much time we have that's free now. 10 to 20 hours a week we now have of free time. Some of that I highly suggest that we invest in trying to figure out what we love, hobbies, that kind of thing. And we also really need to invest in our heads. We need to invest in our education. We need to invest in therapy. There are too many people that I talk to. And when I start talking to them, they'll start telling me their stories. And I'll say, oh, in my mind, listening to them, I would maybe guess that they've been out 6 months, 12 months. And I go, oh, so how long has it been since you've been out? And they'll say, 20 years. Damn. I wasted 38 years in the religion. I don't have 20 years to heal. I can't take this slowly. I felt like when I get out, I needed to be on a rocket ship to healing. And we are underserved in the education and in the therapy group because of the religion. A lot of us have not had any higher education. A lot of us know nothing about psychology. Therapy, I think, is viewed a little bit looser lately, it seems. I've been out 10 years, so I can't say so much for the last 10 years, but I know that when I was in, if you go to therapy, you're going to be influenced by the devil. Okay, so we need some influencing here. Invest in therapy. Invest in knowledge. You need it. You need it. No matter how much we think that we've got things figured out, probably you have a lot of stuff figured out, but you need a mentor, you need a coach, you need somebody to help work through the emotional issues, unless you want to take it the slow track. And that's hard. That's tough. Like I said, I felt like I needed a rocket ship. I realize, we don't have paradise. We don't have forever. And I want to be fast forwarded to success. I want friends. I want this. I need this. I don't want to feel the anger. I don't want to feel the resentment. I don't want to think about the wasted years. I don't want those emotional ties. And the quickest, fastest way to heal that is through therapy, coaching, and education. So take some of that extra time that you've bought back for yourself, that 10 to 20 hours, and invest it in things that you love, but invest it in your mental and your emotional well-being. It will be so worth it. I think everybody who's ever looked for any sort of outside help has said that it made a huge difference. Now, that being said, it can be tricky finding somebody that understands what we've gone through. So talking to somebody who's either has a similar background or has training in high control cults, anything that empowers you too is what you need to look for. There's different types of therapy. There's the regular talk therapy. I'm not of the opinion that is as helpful. First of all, because man, they have a hard time understanding what we've been through. I mean, can you imagine explaining why you've been disfellowshipped? You have to practically educate them on our entire vocabulary. Well, you know what? I had to go to the judicial committee and I've been disfellowshipped. My dad's an elder. They're like, wait, what language are you speaking? So being able to speak to somebody freely that understands what you've gone through. Sometimes if you're just doing some sort of, regular therapy and you talk about how your family has shunned you, they're real quick to be like, oh, okay. So, let's start rebuilding those family relationships. Yes, that's not how it works, but it's hard for them to understand because we have a unique background. So let's do a quick recap here. We go, first of all, as you're getting ready to fade, as you're exiting, keep it to yourself. You're not ready to teach what you've learned so far. And if you want to try to keep any sort of semblance of any relationships with people that you've known, I would definitely recommend don't talk about it yet. Don't talk about it yet. Keep quiet. Number 2, recreate your social circle as fast as possible. Start with a non-JW family. Go to coworkers, start talking to as many people as possible. And as you're creating these new friendships, be honest. Hey, I left a cult. I don't know anybody, so I'm looking to rebuild my whole life. People love that. Number 3, create new rituals for yourself. It's super important for human grounding. So whatever your new ceremonies, whatever your new rituals are, whether it does become celebrating the holidays or whether it becomes replacing the Sunday morning meeting with a hike, whatever you do it consistently. One thing that I didn't mention when I was going over that section 2 is even prayer. I will recommend a lot of times if you've left, you've leaving the religion, you're mentally out. Most of the time we don't feel comfortable praying. And if that's you, replace prayer with meditation, because meditation is another practice that can really, really help ground us, help teach us who we are. I could talk about that on a different topic, but that's another ceremony that we can incorporate into our life. Number 4, discover what you love. Try out new hobbies, try out new activities, specifically ones that were forbidden before, because this is your time to enjoy your freedom and decide who you are, create who you are, and create this new life for yourself. Number 5, be open-minded. Be open-minded to question not just the religion, but question everything. Because if we could have been misled by on such a grand scale, what else are we limiting ourselves to? Whether it's in economic senses, educational senses, whether it's a spiritual category that we still are kind of saying, oh no, I know this is true. Remember, we said that at one time about the religion too. So anything that you think that you know is true, be open to questioning it, because you just might be surprised. Number 6, use your newfound time to invest in yourself. Invest in therapy, invest in education. Okay, my friends, that is it for today. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to share this. Drop some comments, please, if you have any other topics that you'd like to hear me cover. In the future, I'll be talking a little bit about different topics about some of the plant medicines that we do here in Ecuador. Specifically, we work with psilocybin, San Pedro, and ayahuasca. I'll be sharing videos about that. Any questions that you have, feel free to shoot us an email. Love you guys. I will talk to you soon.